Before we get into the nitty-gritty of how these blockchains and how these smart contracts actually work from a low level, let's go high level and talk about some of the features and massive advantages that blockchains and smart contracts have over our traditional environments. The first feature that these have is they are decentralized, and you'll hear this term used a lot because it has a massive benefit. Blockchains are decentralized, meaning there's no centralized source that controls the blockchain. The individuals that make up blockchain are known as node operators, and they are the independent individuals running the software that connects the whole blockchain together. It's all these different independent individuals that make the blockchain and blockchain-like networks decentralized. We'll dive deeper into that concept later. A great example of why this is so fundamentally groundbreaking is if we go back to what happened recently, even with Robinhood and GameStop. GameStop shares were no longer allowed to be bought because a centralized entity didn't want them to be bought anymore. So they flipped a switch and nobody could buy that stock anymore, essentially having a single entity controlling the entire financial market. The fact that a single entity has the power to make these choices for us is a travesty, and blockchain is here to solve that. There's a narrative here called the bankless narrative, where users can actually live in a world where they don't have a bank. Banks, while good in their own right, have a history of doing some shady things. They also have the power to potentially freeze your funds, not letting you withdraw or move or do anything, because they are a centralized entity that again can flip a switch and control how you interact with your life every day. Being free of these centralized entities have this much power and this much control over your life has widespread positive ramifications. Transparency and flexibility. Everything that's done on a blockchain and all the rules that are made can be seen by everyone. There's no backdoor deals, there's no shady happenings. Everything that happens on chain, you can see. This means that there's no special information that a few have. Everyone has to play by the same rules, and everyone can see exactly what those rules are. Now, additionally, this doesn't mean that everything you do is tracked. The blockchain is pseudo-anonymous, so you can create different accounts and you can interact with it in many different ways. This leads me to my freedom point, but I'll get there in a second. Speed and efficiency. Have you ever tried to make a withdrawal from the bank and it took 3 to 5 days? All the bank is doing is adding and subtracting numbers. Basic first grade math. So why does it take so long? Because blockchains are verified by a decentralized collective, the settlement or withdrawal period in this case is substantially faster. And depending on the blockchain that you're using, it can be from 10 minutes all the way down to just a couple of seconds. In the stock trading or hedge fund world, it can actually take up to a week for your buy or sell of a stock to go through. Security and immutability. Blockchains are immutable, which means they can't be changed. And because of this, it means that they can't be tampered with or corrupted in any way, shape, or form. This allows us to have massive security on our data, on our transactions, and anything of the like. If your computer goes down and your backup computers go down, in the regular world, your data is gone. If all your data is on those two computers, you're out of luck. On a blockchain, if several nodes go down, it doesn't matter. Because as long as one node in the entire system is running, the data is safe and secure. There are thousands or hundreds of thousands of nodes running these blockchain softwares, meaning that everything that happens and is immutable and won't change. Hacking the blockchain is nearly impossible and substantially harder than hacking a centralized entity. And this is also much more secure in the asset sense as well. Instead of having gold in a vault or a contract written on a piece of paper or on your computer, you have an asset that is locked on the blockchain forever. And all you need to do to access it is have a private key or mnemonic, which is essentially a password. So you don't have to lug your gold around or lug your contracts around with you. It is always on the blockchain. Smart contracts in particular remove a massive conflict of interest. In the traditional world, when we engage with users or individuals, they don't always have our best interests at heart. A lot of them are usually self-motivated in some sense. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how a lot of people are. However, when we make an agreement with them, This agreement can have a massive conflict of interest with the user who's supposed to execute that agreement. Let's take insurance, for example. If I pay an insurance provider $100 a month, I'm paying them $100, and in the event that I get hit by a bus, we've made an agreement or a contract that they're going to pay my medical bills or bail me out. However, they have this massive conflict of interest. Insurance companies aren't in the business of giving out money. They're in the business of making money. So even though they've signed this agreement, when this event occurs, they still don't want to pay this money out to me. And if they can find a loophole in the contract, they will, because that is what they are motivated to do. So they sign this agreement, but it's not in their best interest to do so. So they have this massive conflict of interest, and this is native in all of the agreements that we make today. They are the ones who decides whether or not they're going to execute their agreement. Giving execution power to the party that doesn't want to execute something has often led to frustration. Now, the follow-up is you can always sue them and go through this process, but now you're wasting all this time going through this long process to get something that you should have originally gotten in the first place. This leads me to one of the biggest value adds of smart contracts. Smart contracts allow us to engage in trustless and trust minimized agreements. We currently live in a world of brand-based agreements. If I engage in some agreement and I don't like the service that I'm provided, my alternative to this is to waltz down the street to another brand, to another service who's going to make the exact same set of promises to me. And then I have to trust them that they're going to execute faithfully. Smart contracts allow us to move from this brand-based agreements to math-based agreements. These math-based agreements, we don't even have to trust that they're going to do the right thing, hence the name trustless. 1 + 1 is always going to equal 2 in a math world. Whatever the code determines is the input-output, that's exactly what's going to happen every single time. Now for me, these really all add up to 2 major pieces: freedom and trustless. All these pieces allow us to live in a world that's more accountable, more trusting, more friendly, and just better. It allows us to work in an environment and a universe where things just work. It allows us to do the freedom to engage with other people how we wish, because there's no centralized controlling body influencing every action that we make. All the rules are the same and nobody's getting special treatment. This brings out this new world of economic opportunity as well. And as our lives become more and more digital, we're constantly being bombarded with centralized services that want us to use their interface so they can profit on how we interact and force us or push us to making the decisions that they're motivated for us to make. Smart contracts, decentralized applications, and blockchain allows us to be free of these repressors and live in an environment that's truly free and trustless. So with all that high level being said, let's do a quick summary of what we just learned. Blockchains are decentralized, meaning that they are not controlled by a single centralized entity. It is run by a network of independent users. Transparency. Blockchains are transparent. Everything that happens on a blockchain, everybody else can see and everybody else can work with and see that everyone's playing by the same rules. Blockchains are quick and efficient, especially when it comes to monetary policy. Settlement on blockchains are fast and easy. Immutability and security. Blockchains can't be changed or tampered with or corrupted and are incredibly secure. Smart contracts remove the massive conflict of interest traditional agreements have. Smart contracts allow us to move away from political brand-based agreements to secure math-based agreements. Smart contracts allow us to engage in trustless and trust-minimized agreements. Smart contracts are a set of instructions which, when placed on a blockchain, are self-executing pieces of code not run by any centralized intermediary. In addition, smart contracts are typically paired with some type of oracle to get some information about the real world. When smart contracts are paired with an oracle, they're called hybrid smart contracts. Chainlink is a secure, decentralized, modular oracle network used to bring data into your smart contracts and also make some type of external computation. I also briefly want to mention DAOs, or decentralized autonomous organizations. You'll hear this referred to a lot as well. Decentralized autonomous organizations are organizations that live online and live in these smart contracts. They're similar to a regular organization in the traditional world. However, they have people who maybe hold governance tokens to make voting decisions, or they do all their governance on chain, on this decentralized settlement layer, giving us the freedom to engage with each other as we please. So, now that we've taken our first dive into blockchains and smart contracts, and at least from a high level understood why they're so advantageous, let's jump in, let's get an Ethereum wallet, and let's make our first transaction on a live blockchain. Are you ready? Now let's jump into Ethereum. We're going to make our first interaction with the Ethereum blockchain. And once we do this interaction, once we make this transaction, then we're going to go back and look at what actually happened. What were the technical implications that allowed this transaction to go through? So in order for us to interact with the blockchain, the first thing that we're going to need is an Ethereum wallet. So I'm going to go ahead and go to MetaMask because it's one of the most popular wallets and one of the easiest to use. We're going to go ahead and download it. I'm using the Brave browser, but it works for Chrome, Firefox, or really any other browsers. And it's just going to be a little extension in the top right hand of your browser. This way, we can really easily see at any time what we have in our wallet. This will store all of our Ethereum-based currencies. So I'm going to go ahead and install MetaMask for Brave, add to Brave, add extension. And now we can go ahead and get started with working with Brave. This is the first step you absolutely need to take when starting your journey and one of the easiest steps to take. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And we're going to create a brand new wallet. So we're going to go ahead and hit create wallet. If you already have a wallet, you can actually import it via I have a seed phrase. And we'll talk about this seed phrase or secret phrase in a little bit. So let's go ahead and create a new wallet. And sure, we'll agree to help out MetaMask. Now we will create our password. Make sure that this is really secure. For the purpose of this demo, my passwords are just going to be password, but please don't have that be your password. Now, when I'm doing my testing and when I'm doing my coding, I actually use a separate account from the account that I actually have real money in. However, if you want to use this account and actually put real Ethereum and put real money into it, you absolutely 100% need to back this up. So we're going to go ahead and click reveal secret words. I'm showing you guys here because this is just a demo and I don't really care. However, if you show this secret phrase to anybody else, they will have access to all the funds in your application. So everything that we're going to do in this tutorial, we're going to use fake money. We're going to use not real money, so it doesn't matter. However, if you're going to actually put money in here, you absolutely need to have this written down because if you lose access to this and or your private keys, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you will lose access to your wallet and you will lose access to all your funds. So they give some tips like store this phrase in a password manager like 1Password, write this phrase down on a piece of paper, put it in a secure location, memorize it, whatever you want to do, just make sure you have this backed up somewhere. I'm just going to go ahead and hit download this for now, and I'm going to save it on my computer. It's not best practice to save it to your computer. It is much better to use a password manager or write it down on a piece of paper or something. But again, because we're just demoing here, I'm going to show you it here, and we're not going to put any real funds into this. So we're going to go ahead and hit next, and it's going to ask us to make sure and it's going to ask us to verify that we actually have it written down. And we're going to go ahead and hit confirm. And great. And it gives us a couple other tips. Remember, definitely take these tips very seriously, especially if you're going to use this for real money. Like I said, for this demo, we're just going to use test money. So it's not as big of a deal. But if you put real money in, you absolutely need to back up this seed phrase or secret phrase, or we're going to refer to it as our mnemonic phrase. Awesome. Now we can see the user interface of this wallet. And depending on your browser, if you actually go ahead and look in your extensions, you can pin it to your browser. And you can even just click it and get the same interface here. Let's take some inventory of what is actually going on in here and what we actually have. Our mnemonic phrase, that secret phrase that we got, has given us access to a new account. And here's the address of our account. We can use a tool like Etherscan to view different addresses and what's been going on with them. So if we look at this address that we just created on Etherscan, we can see that no transactions have happened. It's empty. It has 0 Ether in it. It has $0 worth of value in it. And this address here
is our unique address. This address represents exclusively this single account that we just created. We'll talk a little bit more about Etherscan in a bit as